Phil, I understand that you're based in the Isle of Wight in the UK.
That's right. Yes, just a small island just off the south of England, about 5 or 6 miles from Southampton.
Excellent. And how's life down there since the lockdown?
We're very fortunate here. We've got one of the lowest infection rates in the UK. I think about the third from the bottom. But everyone's doing the same things. It's very tough. We can go out and exercise once a day. So being a keen runner and cyclist, that's my start to the day. And everybody's really being very careful. There's no doubt we're all going to look forward to some easing of it when the right time is.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, I understand that you're qualified in behavioural science. For anybody who doesn't understand what that means, can you just describe what that is in layman's terms, please?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's sort of a collective, really, and it's something which is very much of a modern term used. It would incorporate things like occupational psychology, psychometric profiling, neuroscience. Basically, it's really a collective which brings together the knowledge of how people operate. In my case, the specialisation is particularly in a working environment.
Interesting. So with everything going on with COVID-19 lockdowns, I guess you've got some thoughts about some of the main issues and challenges for companies when they're transferring staff from centralised offices or contact centres to home working.
Yeah, it's a very interesting, and so many of our clients have come on to us for some assistance in this, because there are a number of companies that have thought about home working on a more regular basis and maybe thought, well, it can't work, or against it. This has come along and it's forced people's hands. And so the first thing is, right, let's get them at home and let's get them working. But therein lies a potential problem. And it comes down to the behavioural side of how really different people are. And there's been some real issues in managing that. So you've got to be very careful in this transition, because you've obviously got customers you want to offer that really great service to. So It's not just quite as easy as sending them home with a laptop.
So when you talk about staff working from home, do you think they're still able to be efficient and productive as if they were in the office?
Yes, I do, but there are challenges. First of all, the company has got to have the technical ability to provide, mirror the service that they've been able to give in the office-based environment. And technology is there in most cases to do that. And then the other thing is, it's creating an environment where they feel equally as comfortable working in. There's one company I spoke to last week. He said, my rate of call waiting times for customer service coming, he said, have been some of the best I've had. He said, I can't believe it. I never would have believed working from home would have achieved this. But they put a lot into moving the people and managing them the right way. So yes, I think you can do.
Interesting. So talking about behavioural science and talking about team members, then you mentioned earlier that it's looking at the behaviour of individuals, of team members. Can you tell us a little bit more about how you can determine whether team members will be successful when they work from home?
Well, one of the things that we do at SALESMATCH is our speciality is in sort of the behavioural science of salespeople and contact centre agents. And when you look at the 4 high level, and we've taken it very much to the high level, changes and behavioural character traits of them, it does come down into, there's a group that's probably a fairly high assertive group, and they'll pretty much take anything. They'll look very positively at whatever you give them. One of the other groups, which is a very sort of more emotional, extrovert type sector, and there you'll see people like this that it's probably the rejection of things is the thing that is one of their greatest fears. So for them, being in isolation can be a major problem. There are others that are much more sort of lower paced, much more probably customer support environment, and their greatest fear is security. So moving them into this environment away from the security of the establishment in the office can be a very disturbing factor. So you have to understand those differences and manage those in a separate way.
So I'm a manager of a contact centre. I'm moving all my staff to work from home. Or even if I wasn't, if I was keeping them employed in a centralised location, how do I identify the different character types in the team?
Well, you can take the high level look, or something that we offer as a company is a service to assess those. It's very quick, it's an online service, and it will tell you which of these groups they fit into. On the contact centre side, because one of the big problems in the contact centres has been high attrition, where probably the person who's a really good customer support person has been put into maybe outbound new business environment, and the stress of that is significant, so they leave. So what we do is we look at what their basic groups are, and then they move into the right function within the contact centre. And we can provide this. It's instantaneous, it's online, it's with the company within seconds of them taking the assessment.
Interesting. We've talked a lot about the agents of frontline professionals. What about the managers? How with managers, how do they need to manage their team differently now?
Well, it's a very good point. And if we come back to the first part a little bit, most people don't like change. Change is one of the most disturbing things that we have to deal with, and it unsettles everybody. Now what you have is, if you focus just on the agents or the people who are going into a home working environment, you've sort of just done half the job. Managing it now becomes quite a task. So you've got two elements. You've got probably, let's call it the human resources side of the company that needs to ensure that they understand how these people need the different ways they need interacting with. But from a management point of view, where you've actually had all your team around you or near to you, this no longer happens. And this now presents some challenges in how managers, team leaders understand and interact with their teams. And it's really critical that they understand their own profile and understand how to interact with the others.
Interesting. And what about other key factors? Are there any other key factors in terms of maintaining performance when you've got a work from home team?
Yes, there are. I mean, a lot of the contact center software now, the vast majority is cloud-based. Certainly, if it's not, it is a web-based environment now. So a lot of the data is captured online. I mean, in theory, and I don't want to oversimplify, you could give someone a laptop, a noise reduction headset, and send them home with a VPN, and they're there. So the data gets captured as normal. The issues come with, obviously now, the managers in the unit have got to look at how they interact with the agents. The things that are not really different, a team leader or a contact center manager would want to listen in, and in that respect, they may not even be in the same unit if they were all in the building, so they can listen in just the same way. So they can monitor what's happening. And one of the interesting things is that although they can't walk around and interact, there are a number of, certainly some of the profiles, that if they've got an issue and they want to ask for some help, will actually feel more comfortable raising that directly with the person where it's not in full view of everybody else. So they can actually feel more confident and reassured with the help they would get not being in public.
Yeah, it's a good point. And I guess there's a lot of people looking at what's happening in a very pessimistic way, but there are some positives coming out of the way that we're working. What sort of things are you seeing as a positive outcome of working from home?
Look, change has always been a part of our lives. I don't think that's ever gone. If you actually think of some of the major changes, some of the big brands that we take for granted now, the eBays, the Googles, the Amazons, Facebooks, all of these, which are relatively new companies. Change has always been with us. This is going to create another change. It's probably slightly more dramatic. Well, it's considerably more dramatic. But from this will show some companies that, in fact, they can run part of their team in a remote environment and actually have a better and settled team of people. Again, it'll be down to the profile types. And it's something that really, what happens is it's a work-lifestyle balance, which actually can add to some people and I think will help them produce a better quality service. So there are always pluses to this that come out. It's understanding them, identifying them and managing to them.
So do you think when this pandemic's over, and hopefully it's soon, because it's causing a lot of disruption, do you think there's going to be a permanent change into the way some companies think about having staff working remotely?
Well, I know one company, one of our clients, that has already instigated a personal change of thought moving forward. They were in a position where they were going to have to look for a new unit to expand one part of their company. And he said, I never would have done this. He said, and because of the responses now, he said, we're actually going to identify the people who have performed better in the home environment. And he said, we're already working out this is going to release us quite a lot of space to have the growth we need without having to take on another unit. So I do think that for the forward-thinking companies, there will be changes. I mean, there are going to be changes to our life. We think in the UK here that cash is going to virtually disappear. It's virtually gone now. So there are changes that are going to have, and it's going to happen probably a little bit quicker than we normally would have done.
Interesting. It's certainly interesting times for all of us, and we're certainly seeing some interesting trends. And like you said, I think this has been very much forced the hand of so many organisations around the world. But I'm hearing lots of good, positive things as a result. But certainly the behavioural science behind it, the looking at you individuals is something that we should value, even if we're, just looking at it now for working from home or on an ongoing basis. And I'm sure that's something that you will be helping the industry grow and develop as we move forward.
I think on the behavioural side, for a long time now, we've seen people move into sales because they've wanted to. We've seen the successful people. We've seen those that are good at getting new business. This is both field sales and using the phone. And those that don't, and we wonder why. There are people who are naturally, their character trait will take rejection. It's easy to identify. And they will manage themselves and they will look to achieve targets. Those people in a customer support or a very caring account management role potentially don't fit equally and sometimes can cause damage in how they manage that relationship because it's not how they are. So in recent reports done by some of the top 4, behavioural assessments are now becoming a very important part of understanding how we work and how we need to be managed. So It is a very key point now.
Interesting. Really good stuff. I really enjoyed our discussion today. Thank you, Phil.
Right.
And I want to wish you and your family that you all stay safe and well, and we'll catch up with you again sometime soon.
Thank you very much, and the same to you. Trying times, but that's where the opportunities are, I guess. Thanks very much.
Take care. Thanks, Phil.
You.
Bye.
Bye.